Um, this might be a little bit of a reach. Um, well, I don't think it's really a reach, but I mean, it's definitely not as powerful as like a lot of the topics in our book or in the videos, racism, sexism, like the way in which those sociocentric thoughts or thinking can really evidently hold back another group of people. But one of the ones that came to mind, and of course it's because we tend to personalize where we're seeing stuff. And for me, I think maybe what I mean by different or complicated is it's just a convoluted concept, which is I think there's a sociocentric thought in parenting. Um, we we believe that there's two ways I think in which there's two rivers that flow in why this could be sociocentric. One is the idea that there is one way to parent, and we tend to judge people who don't parent the same way and almost belittle them until they like kind of either roll with the punches or feel just alienated, feel like they're not part of like the parenthood cult or whatever, specifically the cult of motherhood, because I think that's a little bigger. But I think about that, like when I became a mom, like all the little things that people kept telling me weren't good enough. Not that I wasn't a good mom, it's just really micromanaging the little things. And now that I'm like far enough in my motherhood journey, people don't really do that. I think it's something we do to young mothers. And in some ways it was good because it made me just kind of like throw up my hands and be like, I actually don't care what anyone else thinks, and I guess I'm moving on. And now people are just like, oh, you're a good mom. And it's like 3 years ago, you were telling me all the ways I was doing this wrong. And I think like if we think about the old concept, like that old saying that's like it takes a village to raise a child, but this like sociocentric thought about what it means to parent, how to be a good parent, that there's like this one way, ends up alienating, and then you don't have a village, you have like nobody. It's just you taking care of your children. So that's like the one river of like sociocentric thinking. But I think even more minute than that, there's sociocentric thought in that parents are better than their children. And I don't think that parents are walking around saying like, I'm smarter or I'm cooler, but it's just that I know better, when in reality our job is simply to like, our job as parents is really to just be like the bumpers on the side of the bowling lane. Like if the bowling ball, our children, going into the actual lane or the bumpers is like death or drug addiction or murder, then our job as parents is to like stop them from doing that, like be good parents. But other than that, like our job isn't to, say, our job isn't to tell them that their thoughts aren't correct because we know better, because we've been alive longer. I mean, that is like, I remember growing up, my mom and I have talked about this now. I remember growing up and she would say, you have to do as I say because I'm the adult. And I remember talking to her about this not that long ago and saying, you were a great mom. Do not get me wrong, but like that kind of thinking is really important to me to break, because they shouldn't just do it. I mean, I think the words that we use with our children teach them how to respond to other people later in life. And so if I'm telling my children that it's their responsibility to listen to me because I'm the power structure, I'm the top of the hierarchy of our family, then they'll go into life thinking that anybody who's in a position of power holds the final word. And I think it's important to teach our children that that's not always true. Like, respect is earned, not just given. And so I guess when I'm thinking about, this is why I said it was kind of convoluted. When I'm talking about that, I just mean like if we're talking about the hierarchical structure, and that the top, i.e. the mom, the dad, thinks that they're the top dog, and that everything below them needs to listen to them or is less than them. Or, I mean, I think this is how abuses happen in family relationships, because I think a lot of parents do believe that what they say is like the golden rule, or even like parents who require that their children do what they wanted to do or have done. You know, like, you're going to be a football player, you're going to be a model, you're going to become a lawyer. None of that is our job. That's not parenting. I mean, of course, maybe it's egocentric for me to say that that's not parenting. I mean, again, the point is there's so many different kinds of parenting. But I think when we're talking about how do we break that, recognizing it, seeing how it can hurt, which is like creating false ideology in our children, but how do we break that is like to do what I'm saying is like look at it and say like, I don't think that was effective. I can recognize that my mom did a lot of really amazing things for me, and still recognize that she phoned it in when it came to really thinking about what she was saying to me to get me to listen. You know, like, you have to listen to this rule because I said it isn't good enough. And I think that that's really important. If we're talking about family hierarchy, it's the same with like grandparents, you know, like, you don't have to listen just because they're 40 years older than you. Like, you listen because they've proven time and time again that they deserve to be listened to. I don't know. I mean, let me know if you guys think that that's valid. Like, the idea that we have this, and it's not just American. I mean, I think this is pretty sociocentric thinking in most cultures, is like that the parents are top and everything else falls below them. And maybe, you know, like, there's the good kid, the bad kid, the, you know, like, arty kid or whatever. But it'd be interesting to, I don't know, see other people's opinion on that.